Hey there, I want to welcome you to Wednesday's edition of Journey Through the Gospels. And today we are in Luke chapter 19. Now I want you to stop what you're doing. I want you to join along with me, okay? Are you ready? Here we go. Zacchaeus was a wee little man, and a wee little man was he. He climbed up in a sycamore tree, for the Lord he wanted to see. And as the Savior passed that way, he looked up in the tree, and he said, "Zacchaeus, you come down, for we're going to your house today, for we're going to your house today." Did you sing it with me? I know, sorry. But that story is in this chapter. And the song describes everything that's in this passage. So let's look at it, starting with verse 1. In Luke 19, Jesus entered Jericho and was passing through. A man was there by the name of Zacchaeus. He was a chief tax collector and was wealthy. He wanted to see who Jesus was, but being a short man, he could not because of the crowd. So he ran ahead and climbed up in a sycamore tree, for the Lord he wanted to see, since Jesus was coming that way. And when Jesus reached the spot, he looked up and he said to him, "Zacchaeus, come down immediately. I must stay at your house today." So he came down at once and welcomed him gladly. All the people saw this and began to mutter, "He has gone to be the guest of a sinner." But Zacchaeus stood up and said to the Lord, "Look, Lord, here and now I give half my possessions to the Lord, and if I have cheated anyone out of anything, I will pay back 4 times the amount." And Jesus said to him, "Today salvation has come to this house, because this man too is a son of Abraham. For the Son of Man came to seek and to save what was lost." Now in this story, there's a few things. Let's look at it. The first thing is we find out that Zacchaeus is a tax collector. And he is a tax collector, and during this time period, tax collectors were viewed as like the worst of the worst. I mean, they would put tax collectors as being even worse than like murderers, because tax collectors would overtax you, and then they would pay the government what you really owed, and then they would keep the rest of it for themselves. And so they were seen as like thieves, and so tax collectors were hated. So Jesus is coming, Zacchaeus hears about him, and he's a wee little man and he can't see for all the people, so he climbs up in the sycamore tree and he sees Jesus, and as the song says, Jesus says, "Zacchaeus, you come down, I'm going to your house today." And so Jesus goes to the house of Zacchaeus. But here's the thing, it says that the people, they muttered to themselves that they couldn't believe he has gone to be the guest of a sinner. Jesus has gone into the house of a sinner. And it's almost like the people are thinking, if Jesus really is the Son of God and he really knows all things, and surely he knows that Zacchaeus is a sinner. So how in the world, why would the Son of God want to be around sinners? And so then we see, it's interesting that Zacchaeus, he says to Jesus, he says, "Look, Lord, here and now I give half my possessions to the poor, and if I've cheated anybody out of anything, I will pay it back 4 times the amount." The response that Zacchaeus gives is really a reflection of a changed heart. I mean, that's not typically something that a tax collector would do, a thief would do. But we see a change has happened as Zacchaeus has met with Jesus, and his heart has been changed. And that's what happens when we find ourselves in the presence of Jesus. We can't stay the same. Our heart changes, our life changes as we're in the presence of Jesus. And that happened for Zacchaeus. And then notice Jesus' response. He says, "Today salvation has come to this house, because this man too is a son of Abraham." In other words, Jesus says, this man, his life has changed. Salvation has come to this house. He's a changed man. And then notice the last thing that Jesus says, "For the Son of Man came to seek and to save what was lost." Jesus, in response to what the people were saying, "I can't believe that Jesus went to the house of a sinner," Jesus says, "That's really who I came for. I came to seek and to save the lost." People like Zacchaeus. And we move that all the way up to today, that would be people like me, people like you. The Apostle Paul tells us in Romans 3:23, for all have sinned and fall short of the glory of God. We are all sinners in need of a Savior. And that means that we are exactly the people that Jesus came for. He came to seek, to look for, and to save the lost. And anyone that has not surrendered their life to Christ, they're still in their sin and they are lost in their sin. And if that's you today, Jesus came for you. Jesus came for you. He died on the cross for you and said, if anyone will call upon my name, if anybody will put their faith and trust in me, I'll forgive their sin and they'll be saved. Jesus came for you. Jesus wants you to be saved. If you've never surrendered your life to Christ, today's your day to do that. Just simply say, Jesus, I believe in you. Jesus, forgive me of my sin. I want to follow after you. And you would be one that Jesus would say, today salvation has come to this house. And He offers that salvation to anyone who would call upon the name of the Lord. I hope that's you today. That's going to do it for today. Tomorrow, we're going to be in Luke chapter 20. I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you tomorrow.